Today on Investigate TV Plus, colleges spend top dollar to recruit star athletes.
I've seen pool parties, super fancy cars, Escalades.
An in-depth look at how much it's costing schools, plus the rule change that could further tilt what some call an already uneven playing field.
If we ran businesses like we run our athletic departments at colleges and universities, we'd all be bankrupt.
A potentially life-saving device not in sight.
I couldn't find it. That was what she said.
They kept saying they couldn't find it.
I can't find it.
A family shares their unexpected loss in hopes of creating change.
I believe he would have had a chance, or at least give him a chance. People in facilities need a chance.
Plus, millions of Americans are at risk of a life-changing condition, and it's more commonly seen in African Americans.
Finding it early helps save lives.
One patient's warning that looks to inspire others towards healthy living.
Even though you feel good, a lot of good things ain't going on.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. Big spending in pursuit of big wins. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. We're pulling back the curtain on recruiting costs in college athletics, and we're talking about major money to pay for swanky hotels, chartered planes, pricey meals, and much more.
Over the last 18 years, we found big universities have spent nearly $2 billion attracting athletes. And a recent change will likely make it even more expensive to land elite players.
Reporter Heather Graff has an in-depth look at the spending.
It's a competition that extends far beyond the football field, and one that's increasingly playing out on social media.
This how my UGA visit went.
High school athletes sharing videos of their college recruitment experiences, from elaborate photo shoots to high-end restaurants, even this boat ride to dinner. We found dozens of examples on TikTok, the post showing off all expenses paid transportation, plus hotel rooms filled with snacks and swag.
Check this out.
And for entertainment, some teams even turned their stadiums into massive laser tag arenas, all of it aimed at swaying players to sign with their school.
Everyone is trying to get an edge, to get that best players.
Dr. B. David Ridpath is a professor of sports administration at Ohio University who says money, and lots of it, has been involved in college athletics recruiting for more than a century.
So going back to the 1800s, it's like once it became important that we have to win to an institution, we'll spend whatever it takes. So it's always been there.
But he believes that spending is getting more extreme. Ridpath pointing to the 2022 recruitment of University of Texas quarterback Arch Manning as one of the most expensive in recent history.
Peyton Manning and Eli Manning's nephew, his recruiting trip to Texas, the estimated cost of that weekend, we're talking 3 days, was over $250,000. I think the numbers are out of control.
We obtained spending records from schools across the country. We also analyzed financial reports schools send to the NCAA, which are collected by Syracuse University. And for more than 100 schools with Division I programs, we found the combined recruiting tab was at least $1.8 billion over the last 18 years, around 40% of that going specifically to football recruiting. Texas, where Arch Manning committed, among the top football spenders for 2022 at $2.4 million.
When you hear those kinds of numbers, what goes through your mind?
It's a lot of money. I don't know, it's crazy. Like, I never knew how much money they put into that stuff.
Lucas Havrasik is currently a kicker in the NFL. He was about 14 years old when he kicked a football for the first time and says he started getting interest from college teams when he was a high school junior in 2015. Then in 2016, the University of Arizona flew Havrasik and his parents out for an official visit.
I remember my visit as just getting toured of the facilities in the school, eating a lot of good food, steakhouse, a burgers place, and that's about it.
That, plus a full scholarship, was more than enough for Havrasik to commit to Arizona. But by his final year there in 2021, he says the playbook and the price of recruiting had evolved.
Because it was like insane compared to my visit. You know, they still had all the nice food and stuff, but they were at the head coach's house having like a pool party. All the families were there, coaches and staff. They just did a bunch of stuff to try to, sell them to really go there.
It's the new norm at a long list of schools, recruiting data and receipts telling the story of expenditures that are allowed, but perhaps excessive, depending on who you ask. For instance, Georgia shelled out more than $41,000 on Chick-fil-A orders and another $204,000 at this restaurant. In conferences from coast to coast, the spending continues. $100,000 on charter planes, $4,000 on Topgolf, $11,000 on trips to Dave & Buster's. And in 1 year, Rutgers University spent more than $9,000 on birthday cards and badges for recruits.
Jeez, birthday cards. I mean, that'd be cool, but like, it's just a birthday card for me at the end of the day. I don't know if that's going to attract me to go to your school.
But it's pretty ridiculous. And specifically a school like Rutgers and even a Fresno. Rutgers has been a school that is so far in debt athletically, and there haven't really been results, really, for Rutgers, right? In fact, their chances of winning in the Big Ten are minimal.
From Ridpath's perspective, big recruiting money does not guarantee success.
It really is not smart business. A lot of those kids that you're winding down are going to other schools, right? They're not all going to sign with you.
Some also end up decommitting or transferring, like this 2022 top-ranked 5-star recruit who decommitted from Florida State, played a year at Jackson State, then transferred to Colorado.
It's such a zero-sum market, that's what really bothers me. At the end of the day, only one school is going to win.
Consider this. From 2008 to 2021, Alabama spent more than $18 million in football recruiting, landing some of the most highly rated recruits and won 6 national championships. Yet Ohio State spent less than half that, around $8 million in the same time frame, and still snagged some of the best recruits, managed a national championship, and had top 25 finishes in all but 1 year. Meanwhile, a new development in recruiting. Up until July 2023, football recruits could only make 5 official visits to colleges. But the NCAA updated the rule, and now visits are unlimited.
What would you say is the significance of that change?
A young man or woman should be able to visit as many schools as they want. We restrict college athletes too much. In the areas of recruiting, I think maybe the danger is now you're going to have more and more schools spending more and more money, because they look at it as an investment. And then it becomes more and more cutthroat.
A potential game changer, and when combined with those social media posts from players,
so they had us in a hotel right next to the beach.
It could drive the cost of college recruiting wars even higher.
If you're in high school and you're seeing all this stuff, like your friends like, oh, I got this, and then the other guy's like, I got this, something way better, cooler, they're gonna be like, oh, this is weak, But really it's not.
So it's a perpetual dog chasing its tail, so to speak, that everyone's trying to one-up each other. And I think it's really just made the whole recruiting experience just kind of explode.
Now, for some context on just how sought after these talented high school football recruits are, we used 24/7 Sports to analyze the top players in 2022. 33 of them got more than 800 offers from schools and made more than 100 school-paid trips to campuses, partially because with the old cap, they were only allowed 5 official visits each. Well, now it's unlimited, so if every school that made them an offer decided to bring them in, that's potentially hundreds more trips, and possibly hundreds more plane rides, parties, and photo shoots.
Our investigation continues online with the Arnold Center at Indiana University. Just go to InvestigateTV.com and look for big bucks, big recruits. You can also take a look at how recruitment dollars vary by sport and by gender.
Still to come, an alien encounter or a wild tale?
When I was younger, I thought he was kind of, crazy.
How decades later, one man's legend is still drawing crowds to a small Midwestern town.
I think it's so special that a gentleman from the 50s has a story that we can still talk about.
But first, a life on the line and an AED could not be found.
It's the what ifs, and I'm torn apart about what ifs.
We sit down with a family now advocating for more access to the devices so no one else is left asking the same question. An automated external defibrillator known as an AED can be the difference between life and death.
According to the American Heart Association, 9 in 10 people who receive a shock from an AED within a minute of going into cardiac arrest live. In just seconds, the device can diagnose heart failure and shock the heart back into a normal rhythm. Trainers used an AED when college athlete Bronny James collapsed on a basketball court. He was released from the hospital within days.
In January of 2023, an AED was also used on NFL player Damar Hamlin during a Monday Night Football game. The Buffalo Bills safety suffered cardiac arrest after a tackle. He has since recovered and is back playing. While the device proved to be life-saving, AEDs are not required in many places, so one family is pushing back after personal tragedy.
Investigative reporter Angie Racono sat down with a woman in Kansas City who hopes to inspire change.
Bill Knoll was 62 years old when he died. His obituary explains his death was unexpected. Much of it focuses on what Bill loved, like Sesame Street and swimming pools.
All units respond.
And Bill loved police scanners.
How would you describe him to
Joyful,
people?
happy. He liked everybody. Everyone liked him.
Bill was deprived of oxygen at birth, and his sister Lori believes he was also autistic.
Just because of his memory.
Bill needed care, and his final days were spent at the Village at Mission in Prairie Village. Lori visited every day. March 26th was her last visit. She found her brother slumped over in a wheelchair. He was unresponsive.
What is going on? And I went up to him and I slapped him in the face. Bill, 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 Bill. And he wasn't responding, and we got him on the floor.
A worker began performing CPR.
One CNA started to do compressions on his navel.
Lori's partner Denise says she jumped in to perform it correctly, and then the nurse left to look for the AED.
They're running, the nurse is gone. You know, I personally am just in shock.
I couldn't find it. That was what she said.
They kept saying they couldn't find it.
I can't find it.
The nurse couldn't find it because there was no AED.
What was your reaction when you found out there was no AED?
I'm just unbelievable, furious. Especially when he had a pulse.
It's unclear if an AED would have saved Bill's life. All Lori knows is it wasn't there.
It's the what ifs, and I'm torn apart about what ifs.
Lori filed an official complaint with the state. The response acknowledges the family's concerns, but it's so clinical it doesn't even use Bill's name. It refers to him as R1. Staff had online CPR training, but no hands-on skills assessment. The rescue effort was left to unlicensed, untrained staff, which placed R1 in immediate jeopardy. It details how a staff member was unable to locate the AED.
Do not touch the patient.
AEDs are incredibly effective, especially when coupled with CPR. When you use both of those together, the likelihood of a positive outcome is much higher.
The American Heart Association points out how easy it is to use an AED.
Analyzing heart rhythm.
The machine walks a person through exactly what to do and will not deliver a shock unless it is needed.
Deliver shock now.
Anytime that you can have an AED available to you and you know how to use it, we highly encourage you to do so.
Lori is now writing lawmakers, advocating for AEDs to be required in all care facilities.
Shock delivered. Begin CPR.
She's also raising awareness for families to at least ask the question, do you have an AED?
He would have had a chance. I believe he would have had a chance, or at least give him a chance. People in facilities need a chance.
The Village at Mission is part of the Tuterra community, which manages dozens of senior living properties across the U.S. The director declined to comment about what happened to Bill and if any of the 10 facilities around Kansas City have an AED. In Kansas City, I'm Angie Racono.
Still to come, living with a chronic disease can interfere with daily life.
I wasn't feeling myself.
A man shares his struggle with a serious condition to raise awareness in the Black community.
More than 37 million Americans have diabetes, which is about 1 in every 10 people.
The Office of Minority Health finds black people are twice as likely to die from diabetes than white people, and 3 times as likely to end up in the hospital for diabetes-related complications.
While there's not a cure yet, the CDC says patients can manage the condition with the right knowledge and support.
Reporter Brittany Ford has one man's story of perseverance to find the right care.
In melody and harmony.
My joy.
This is 76-year-old Melvin Amos's happy place.
I love to play. I'm a music director. I teach voice. I've been doing it forever.
When he's not behind the keys, he's behind the wheel.
I work like from 7 to 8 in the morning, 5 days a week.
As a beloved bus driver for an after-school program in Lafayette.
School starts back, and I'm back on the job again.
But Amos's life most recently came to a screeching halt.
My sugar was like 500 and something. My A1C was 14.
Living with type 2 diabetes, he fell off with care hindering his lifestyle.
I wasn't feeling myself.
A bold decision to walk through the doors at Oak Street Health's Riverdale Center.
Hi, Mr. Melvin.
Is where he met Dr. Susan Clark.
The first step I would tell my patients, don't be scared.
Black adults in the U.S. are 60% more likely than white adults to be diagnosed with diabetes. Clark working to break the stigma within the Black community to seek out care before it's too late.
Finding it early helps save lives.
With a little tough love.
It's all about moderation.
And accountability.
How are your sugars been doing?
Amos is Amos again.
This is the best I've felt in a long time. I'm good.
A smiling face at the bus stop. A bold voice behind the keys with a new appreciation for life.
Take time to go get yourself checked out. Even though you feel good, a lot of good things ain't going on good inside you. And you never know that unless you go get a great bill of health.
Up next, an out-of-this-world tale.
He met aliens. He wasn't abducted by aliens because he went willingly.
And it brought cosmic fame to a tiny Missouri town.
I resonate with some of the qualities that he believed in of how we should treat each other.
See how a cafe helps keep his stories of space travel alive.
The fascination with space spans generations.
Yeah, in the 1950s, a Missouri man not only claimed to have spotted UFOs, but he says they took him to Venus, Mars, and the moon.
Reporter Chad Plains shows us how his stories are still inspiring people to reach for the stars.
The more I dove into his story, I just found it fascinating.
Emily Smith has a small cafe on Front Street called Cosmic Coffee. It is now ground zero for a close encounter of an Ozarks kind.
I'd love to know that this kind of stuff happened in our small little town.
Customers still wonder exactly what happened in the woods almost 70 years ago.
When I was younger, I thought he was kind of, crazy.
I don't mind listening to the stories all day long.
Cosmic Coffee is named after a local legend. About 3 decades after Buck Rogers rose to fame, Buck Nelson made a claim.
He met aliens. He wasn't abducted by aliens because he went willingly.
Yep, in July of 1954, Buck took this photo of what he says are 3 flying saucers over his ranch. Over the next 9 months, these UFOs would visit him 5 times. And on that 5th visit, he and his dog went into the spacecraft. It was Buck and Ted's excellent adventure.
Look at this headline, that's great, but the flying saucers didn't come. Well, no, they didn't.
Sue Ellen Price lives a few blocks from Cosmic Coffee. Her parents owned the drugstore at the time of Buck's journey, and they saved all of the newspaper clippings.
Taken on a spaceship. I said, come on, Dad. I mean, really, what? And he said, Buck understood how people thought and what they were looking for.
He was outgoing. He was interesting to talk to. He had a distinct character about him.
And despite a 6th grade education, Buck knew how to market his story. For years, he would have spacecraft conventions on his farm with guest speakers and musicians.
Oh, my mom told me this story, and they would just mingle with everybody and talk and tell stories, and there was music and cooking.
I remember people just walking around with binoculars like this the entire time we were there. You know, being young, I remember the things that were really odd to me as a kid.
The gravel road, there were cars parked all up and down the road. People from all over the United States.
This is the control panel.
Buck also wrote a book and called it My Trip to Mars, the Moon, and Venus. Back in 1956 here, he described a computer on Venus, saying the planet has TV sets that read books to you and play music. And all of the destinations have the 12 laws of God, which resemble the 10 Commandments.
I resonate with some of the qualities that he believed in of how we should treat each other. So I love that aspect of it.
If they had something like that now, I'd go.
And whether you believe Buck took that trip or not, you have to admit he knew how to tell an out-of-this-world story and draw people by the hundreds to Mountain View, Missouri.
I think it's so special that a gentleman from the 50s has a story that we can still talk about and that can bring people to our small town.
Buck claims, and we should emphasize claims, he didn't bring any souvenirs from his trip, but says he left American flags to prove he was there.
You know, when I think about it all, I think even back then in the 50s, people had FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yes.
So they wanted to go and see if they could see the aliens too.
And listen to Buck's stories.
Listen to the
Hey,
stories.
he marketed himself well. You got to give him that, right?
Yeah, it's a great story.
Yes, it is.
Well, that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm T. Chappelle.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching. Coming up on the next Investigate TV Plus, security checkpoint concerns.
Shots fired.
Where exactly?
Inside the airport.
We have a call of shots fired at the South Terminal.
We reveal the vulnerabilities still inside airports across the country.